excellence in manufacturing handsets, because of our global reach, and because of this amazing technology that is both a combination of hardware and software, other people are predicting that we will directly compete and succeed against the two gigantic current phone platforms out there. I mean, again, I think there's a slight thing of experience here that Apple has not always been a dominant player in this space. And in fact, I myself, in my own kind of long tech career, have seen the rise and fall and rise of Apple in my own lifetime. And you are currently seeing the rise of Nokia again in a partnership with Microsoft. So there's a lot here. And this, again, the thing we're doing strategy-wise with both apps and the development of apps and this whole ecosystem, as well as the platform of the phones, is quite remarkable. And I really suggest that, you know, even in addition to these email things, just go down to an AT&T or a T-Mobile store and check it out for yourselves. In fact, the Lumia 900, until Friday, it's free. It's $99, but we credit you $100 back. It's basically free with a contract. So check it out.
Also, I mean, you know, for you know, gaming, Xbox, when that first came out, like, oh, PlayStation's the dominant one. There's no way Xbox and Microsoft can, you know, get into the gaming space, and look where we are now. Same thing, rise and fall of Apple and rise again. It happens, up and down. Glenn, do you have something else?
No, that was good.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah, so I know Windows 8 and Windows on ARM is going to come out in a couple of months, hopefully.
Yep.
What sort of integration will there be between Windows 7, Windows Phone 7, and Windows 8? How hard will it be to transition Windows Phone app to a
Oh, Glenn, yeah, this is a really exciting story. That's a good question. That deserves an Xbox game. Sort of, you know, so we're at, you know, how, with Windows 8 coming out, sorry, as I take his hand off, with Windows 8 coming out, how are we looking at sort of integration, you know, from Windows Phone to Windows 8, creating apps, sort of having this like nice one ecosystem where you build an app somewhere and it, you know, you can basically port it to another thing like Windows 8 or the phone.
Right. So think of it from two perspectives, right? From the end user's perspective, everything they see going forward is going to be Metro. Windows 8, the Metro design, you know, that took its cue. Windows Phone, which took its cues from Zune, bringing that one, you know, back into play again. The new Xbox dashboard has a lot of Metro style things with tiles. So people are going to get used to that. There's going to be a lot of cross-selling opportunities. You know, if you have a Metro designed app on Windows 8, you know, sell your mobile version on Windows Phone and vice versa. So from the consumer perspective, there's going to be a nice brand identity across all the different platforms. From the developer perspective, the approach is very similar in that you're going to have a very simple UI that's crisp and visually oriented with you know, high contrast graphics and that sort of thing. And you're going to have a lot of reusable assets, fonts, you know, styles, that sort of thing between the various platforms. There is, you know, potential for a convergence of the platform with the sort of write once, run anywhere. You know, we have not made any roadmap announcements in that area. So today the story is simply, you know, Windows 8 development with the Metro style apps is going to be C# and XAML, or Visual Basic and XAML, or HTML5 and JavaScript. And Windows Phone 7 development will continue to be C# or Visual Basic with XAML in the form of Silverlight app or an XNA app for a 2D or 3D game. And so you'll get some code reuse across those if you have business logic or game logic. If you've got connectivity logic, or you've got some server in the cloud that you're using to retrieve data and save data to, you'll be able to do all of that with you know, a library that you can move from a Windows 8 app over to a Windows Phone app. But that's going to be the story for a little bit of time today.
Cool. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? Yep, go ahead.
Are there any big limitations by using PhoneGap to do development instead of Visual Basic Studio?
What are the limitations of perhaps using PhoneGap to develop a phone app versus Visual Studio?
Okay, well, so for Visual Studio, we're actually in Visual Studio, but we're using the PhoneGap framework instead of using the Silverlight framework. Actually, we're using both at the same time. You're just not writing anything in Silverlight. The main disadvantage is the fact that it is in fact a browser. So if I am running this app, just to show you one of the ones that was on here that was PhoneGap, there's our starter kit, right? So we ran this. It's going to feel like a browser because if the user, once this comes up here, if the user double taps the screen, it's going to do this little bounce in and out because it's thinking you're on a web page. Also, you know, you have the ability, in some cases, you can highlight the text and copy it, and there it's going right now. So it doesn't understand that it's an app. It still thinks that it's rendering as a web page. So it's a good way to get started and get a feel, and primarily this HTML5 is targeted at people who already have PhoneGap applications on other platforms and want to bring them to Windows Phone very quickly. But, you know, as I showed, you would then begin to add Windows Phone specific features, the Bing search or an app bar or other things in the marketplace like a trial version of your app. You'd add those features little by little, and eventually, you know, you would probably consider migrating over to an actual full native app instead of HTML5. So all the limitations there are basically because it's a mini browser running as an app.
Okay. All right, we're going to actually pause for 10 seconds while they change tape, and then we'll answer one or two more questions, and then we want to kind of go through quick resources for Silverlight phone development, and then I'll let you go. The question is, how difficult is it to do image processing in PhoneGap?
So the answer to that would be, it depends how difficult it would be to do in JavaScript. There's no libraries internal to PhoneGap to do image processing. So you would either have to find some way to do it in JavaScript or find some way to do it in C# inside of the Silverlight app and communicate back with the hosted PhoneGap app. Or the third way would be, you know, to send the image off of some service in the cloud and then have it come back processed. So there's a couple of ways you could do it there.
Okay. Any other questions for Glenn before I go do my 10-minute spiel? Okay, Glenn, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate your... All right, talk to you soon. I'm going to stop recording and then bye. Okay, let me save it. Glenn Gordon, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'll let that process. Okay, so a couple other things. One more time, this bit.ly/CS164 phone is going to bring you here, and I'm going to actually go through a demo of building a Silverlight app instead of a game, as Glenn mentioned. So if you go bit.ly/CS164, whoops. bit.ly/CS164 phone. What's cool here too is some of these links we're going to give you sample code, which I'm going to go through. But you know, if you want to create a phone app, if you want, a map, if you want to create something with your accelerometer, I'll show you a couple of these examples. But it's pretty cool. This Jumpstart series over here shows videos. So it's actually videos of different examples, and they provide the code. The code is this link, which gives you all the code and the presentation zipped. So if you really want to get quick started, this is a great way to do it. So one thing I'm going to do right now is I'll highlight a couple of things with phone development. So first, maybe I'll do a quick hello world just so you get familiar with adding elements and creating a hello world app on the phone. So when you install, going through WP7 SDK tools, bit.ly, it'll bring you to the SDK tools, and you can just install Visual Studio 2010. It includes all the phone development tools. So I'll walk you through sort of creating that, that first phone app, right? Over here, again, if you're not familiar with the IDE, you have New Project on the top left. And after you install the SDK, what you're going to see is Visual C#, Silverlight for Windows Phone. It has all these different templates. So if I scroll down, you'll see one has to do with Panorama. As you saw Dean go through some Panorama apps. There's Pivot, but let's start from the beginning, straight up Windows Phone application. I'm going to double click on it, choose Windows Phone OS 7.1. And what you'll see is the emulator load, as well as in the middle, you'll see this thing called XAML. In the middle, and then on the right you'll see this sort of user interface type of being able to mess around with the properties, etc. So I don't have great real estate over here. I'm going to zoom out a bit. So my emulator is on the left. I have my XAML code in the middle, and I have sort of this UI way of modifying some of the code, some of the XAML as well. First thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead and I'm going to put my mouse over Toolbox, and you'll see that I have all these different elements available to me. So actually I'm going to move this over just so I can drag it into the phone. So Toolbox, let me go ahead and drag and drop a text block. So over here, here's my text block. I can drag it. You'll see these little orange markers over here, so it's sort of like a snap to